Howdy, mates. Good morning. How are we all doing? It is Sunday, October 31st, 2021. Ooh. Now it is officially Halloween Day, which is not particularly a federal holiday, but rather it's regarded as a celebration in the United States. And me personally, I don't really have high regard for it, but I'm not really going to digress as to why. That's the fact. But I guess, in a sense, I'm dressed up as myself. There we go. No need to compare, right? Always be yourself. But as today's feature, as I was walking through some of the scrubby flatwoods of Oscar Scherer State Park, I stumbled upon this native wildflower right here. Some of you may already know what it is, but for those of you who don't, this is something called the Tarflower. Now, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I actually did a Floral Friday feature on this plant. Excuse me. Now, as you can see, it's not only a flower, but it is essentially like a shrub too. So basically where you're seeing the flower, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Or should I say, the shrub berg. A little creative there. Now, they usually are really well at establishing themselves. All they really require is sandy soils that are well drained. So usually whenever there's the rainy season, these soils are capable of absorbing water rather quickly. But until the water table capacity is reached, that's when you'll start seeing those puddles, because then the soil is oversaturated with water. So you may be wondering, why do they call it the tar flower? It doesn't really look like it's tar or black, but rather it has a bit more beauty. You know, as you can see, there's up to 7 or 6 separate white petals. And then as you get closer to the center, they kind of turn into a pink. Not only that, but there is a huge bundle of stamens too that have anthers towards the top. That is how they can release their pollen. Now, getting to the point of why they call it tar flower is if you actually feel a petal itself, it actually has a bit of a sticky texture, especially on the underside. Kind of reminds you of feeling, just like a particular resin on the plant. Now, in terms of why it is sticky, not really sure. It could be like a defense mechanism for the plant, but it could also be a means of sugar as well. But this is like a great pollinator plant for Florida. And rest assured, the tarflower is not a carnivorous plant at all. It doesn't feed upon its pollinators. It just happens to have that sticky resin. Yeah, like right here, that is really sticky. So I'm thinking that it's probably just serves as a protection for the plant itself. But every now and then, pollinators can get stuck on it. But rest assured, the plant does not feed on them. But yes, this is the tar flower. And yeah, as you can see, it's actually taller than even I am. If it were actually standing up straight, it would probably be up to 8 to 10 feet tall. But that's a common feature that you can find in scrubby flatwoods. But yeah, I couldn't help but to pointed out to you guys, you know, as I was walking by right here. Okay. Now we're actually back on the trail. So, scrubby flatwoods, that basically means we're seeing a lot of shrubs, which could include Tarflower, as I just pointed out. And right here, it looks like we've got ourselves some Laurel Oak. I'm pretty sure. Because noticeably, the acorns are in bundles of 3. And with Laurel Oak, the leaves are typically in clusters of 4, as you can see, like right here. Yeah, there we go. And typically along a branch, the leaves tend to alternate as well, like right there. And there's always like a little bud that is right next to the leaf as well. Like right where my thumb is, see that little spot right there? Yeah, there's little buds that begin new growth of leaves. So essentially, these are still evergreen, but what happens is the leaves fall off in due time, and then a new one grows. So, if it were deciduous, that would mean it would lose leaves for a couple of months. But the oaks down here behave a bit differently, as they never really lose their leaves whatsoever. But these acorns are a great food source for our wildlife, especially some of our eastern gray squirrels. They love to feed on these. So whenever you hear someone say, oh yeah, that's an acorn tree, I mean, technically you would be incorrect, because all oaks produce acorns. So just keep that in mind, you guys. That's what oaks are known to produce, are acorns. So yeah, just keep that in mind, mates, for any future identification. This is actually a plant I covered at this park a couple of weeks ago. This was the coastal plain palafox. They're a well-known aster in Florida. Now they're actually getting to a point as to where you're not really going to see the flowers anymore, but rather you're going to start seeing the seeds. So once their bloom has passed, that's when they'll have a chance to produce their seeds and have an opportunity to reproduce. Now, like right here, you see this? This is another type of oak. Now this, I believe, based on how alone it looks and how wide the canopy is, this, I believe, is a live oak. As a matter of fact, I believe live oak is known to actually have their acorns in pairs. And usually, as you can see here, they're a bit darker too when it comes to color. But yes, that's another key distinction whenever you're looking at a live oak, is they're always in pairs. Unlike that Laurel Oak, which I believe it was, when we were passing by it, the acorns were a bit smaller and they weren't in pairs. There could have been as many as 3 or 4 in one little cluster. Look at that. I mean, rest assured, I'm still even learning like what all oaks are found down here. Because you know me, like originally coming from Ohio, I've been so used to seeing like the deciduous types of oaks. So that's how it is. Whenever you become familiar with a new area, it takes some time to learn what all is found here. Excuse me. I've really had to spit a lot. Sorry. Yeah, live oak is also known to really host their bromeliads as well. That's where you'll see a lot of these. And rest assured, since they are epiphytes, which describe air plants, they don't act as a parasite to the tree. Rather, they use the tree as a means of an anchor or a foundation. There we go. That's a better way of putting it. Yep. Now we're slowly getting into our transition that enters into the hardwood hammocks. So, alright, you guys. Hope you learned something of value in this video. Helping with some tree identification and even some wildflower education as well of what's found down here. So, alright, you guys. Hope you all enjoy your day, Sunday, and have a fun day too. Alright, you guys, take care, and Journey on a Journey is outwards. Take care, folks. See ya.